You are sitting in dead-stop traffic on the interstate. You have been staring at the same bumper sticker for 20 minutes. Suddenly, the yellow check engine light flashes on your dashboard. I know exactly what happens to your stomach in that split second. It drops completely. Your chest tightens because you are already doing mental math. You know your checking account balanced down to the final cent. You know that a trip to the mechanic means putting groceries on a high-interest credit card. I have been there, gripping that steering wheel. I used to feel the exhaustion of the commute in my bones. I used to wear that corporate badge around my neck like a heavy collar. I would scan my badge at the front door and realize I was just paying a toll to survive. Now let us step outside the car and look at the actual math. Meet James. James is 32 years old. He makes $5,000 a month on paper. He thinks he is doing okay because he wears nice clothes and goes out on Fridays. But James needs a new transmission for his car. The mechanic quotes him $1,200. James does not have $1,200 in cash, so he swipes his credit card. Let us do the real math here. James makes about $25 an hour after taxes. To pay off that transmission, James has to work 48 hours. That is 48 hours of his actual life. That is more than a full week of sitting in useless office meetings. That is a week of laughing at his boss's terrible jokes just to keep his job. He is trading his finite time on Earth for a piece of metal he needs just to drive back to the job he hates. If that number felt like a punch to the stomach, subscribe right now. Here we do not talk about miracle investments. Here we talk about stopping the fraud you commit against yourself every single day. Because James is not just paying for a transmission. He is paying the poverty premium. This is the brutal reality where being broke actually costs you more money. If James had the cash, he would just pay the bill and move on. But because he used a credit card with a 24% interest rate, he is paying minimums. That transmission will end up costing him $2,000 by the time he finishes paying it off. He just added another 30 hours of useless office meetings to his debt sentence. This is exactly like buying cheap shoes for work. You buy a $50 pair of shoes because you cannot afford the $200 pair. The $50 pair falls apart in 6 months. You buy another $50 pair. Over 5 years, you spend $500 on terrible shoes that hurt your feet. The guy with money bought the good shoes once. He spent $200 and his feet feel great 5 years later. This is why you pay double for everything. You are trapped in a system designed to tax your lack of liquidity. We call this the convenience tax. It is everywhere you look. It is the overdraft fee your bank charges you because you ran out of money. Think about how insane that is. They fine you $35 for not having enough money. Who came up with that brilliant logic? The bank manager did. You know him. He sits in that air-conditioned office with a warm smile. He offers you a cup of mediocre coffee. He tells you he has a great new financial product tailored just for you. He is not your friend. He is a salesman whose bonus depends on keeping you tied to a monthly payment. Then you have the subtle villain waiting at the grocery store. Silent inflation. You buy the same box of cereal, but the box is smaller and costs $2 more. Your grocery bill went up 20% this year. Did your salary go up 20%? Absolutely not. Your purchasing power is bleeding out while you sleep. And we cannot forget the marketing teams. They spend billions of dollars to make you feel completely inadequate. They convince you that your perfectly good phone is suddenly a piece of trash. They make you feel like a failure if you do not have 3 cameras on the back of your device. So you finance a new phone for $1,000. You just signed away another 40 hours of your life. You are voluntarily handing over your weekends. Let us talk about the big lie they feed you. The ultimate illusion is the credit score. You check your app and feel proud because you hit 750. You think that means you are winning financially. It is a total scam. Your credit score does not measure your wealth. It does not measure how much cash you have in the bank. It only measures how profitable you are to the banking system. It measures how obediently you borrow money and pay it back with interest. If you pay cash for everything and never use debt, your credit score drops to 0. They punish you for not playing their game. If you got angry at this calculation, hit the like button. Anger is the first step toward efficiency. You need to be mad to fix this. You need to wake up and see the fraud of the gross paycheck. You sign an offer letter for $60,000 a year. You mentally spend $60,000, but the government takes their cut before you even see the money. Then the health insurance premium disappears. Then the mandatory parking fee at the office vanishes. By the time the money hits your checking account, you are living on $40,000. But you still finance a car based on the $60,000 fantasy. This is the invisible 20% rule. 20% of your labor is stolen from you before you even wake up. And what about your retirement? You dump money into your 401k. You trust the mutual fund manager sitting on Wall Street. You do not read the prospectus. You do not see the 1.5% administrative fee. You think 1.5% sounds like nothing. Over 30 years, that tiny fee eats half of your compound interest. Wall Street buys a yacht with your money, while you hope you can afford medicine at age 70. This is not a conspiracy. It is just a business model. You are the raw material. Your daily stress, your commute, your financial anxiety. That is the fuel that keeps the machine running. They need you to stay tired. A tired person orders food delivery instead of cooking. A tired person buys an expensive coffee just to feel a small moment of joy before walking into the office. A tired person does not check their bank statements for hidden subscription fees. You are paying double because you are too exhausted to fight back. But today, that stops. Today, you change the math. I have a very specific task for you to do right now. Grab your bank statement from the last 30 days, take a red pen, calculate exactly how much of your money goes toward just keeping your job. Count the gas, count the car insurance, count the lunches you bought because you were too rushed to pack a meal, count the clothes you only wear in the cubicle, subtract all of that from your take-home pay. Calculate how much of your salary actually belongs to you. The final number is going to terrify you. You are going to realize you are working for pennies on the dollar. If this video opened your eyes, send it to that coworker who always looks exhausted in the break room. Send it to the friend who is drowning in credit card payments. We are going to step out of this hamster wheel together. We are going to stop paying the poverty premium. Comment "Code activated" if you realize the trap today. Why is your checking account always gasping for air by the 20th of the month, even when you make $75,000 a year? Imagine this scenario. You wake up already tired. You grab a $7 coffee at the drive-thru because the thought of brewing it at home feels like climbing a mountain. You sit in bumper-to-bumper traffic on the 405 freeway. Suddenly, your check engine light flickers on. You feel that familiar, sinking drop in your stomach. That is the exact moment the system starts calculating how much more money it can extract from you. Let us talk about why you pay double for exactly the same life as the executive in the corner office. Meet David. David works as an account manager and makes $65,000 a year. David needs a new car battery to get to his job. He does not have $200 sitting in his checking account, so he puts the expense on his high-interest credit card. He only pays the minimum balance that month because his landlord just raised the rent again. By the time David finally pays off that balance, that $200 battery is going to cost him $450. Now meet Christine. Christine has $30,000 sitting in a high-yield savings account. Her car battery dies on the same day. She pays the $200 in cash. She puts it on a premium rewards card and gets 2% cash back. Christine actually made $4 for having a broken car. David lost $250 extra for having the exact same problem. This is the poverty premium in plain sight. It is the brutal tax you pay just for not having surplus cash on hand. Let us do the shock math. David earns about $30 an hour on paper. After the government takes its slice for taxes, he takes home maybe $22 an hour. To pay off that extra $250 in credit card interest, David has to work 11 extra hours. He trades 11 hours of dealing with a passive-aggressive boss he dislikes. He trades 11 hours of answering emails that do not matter. He trades 11 hours of missing dinner with his family. He does all of this just to pay a bank for the privilege of needing a car battery. If that number punched you in the stomach, subscribe right now. Here we do not talk about miracle stock picks or overnight wealth. We talk about stopping the financial fraud you commit against yourself every single day. You are throwing away your own time and calling it a normal Tuesday. Let us look at another perfect example of the Sam Vimes boot theory. If you do not know this concept, it explains exactly why being broke is so expensive. A good pair of leather work boots costs $100 and lasts 10 years. A cheap pair of boots costs $20 and lasts exactly 1 year. The rich guy buys the $100 boots once, and his feet stay dry for a decade. The broke guy buys the $20 boots every single year because that is all he has in his pocket. After 10 years, the broke guy has spent $200 and still has wet feet. The rich guy spent half that amount and never suffered. I guarantee that this happens to you every time you step foot in the grocery store. You buy the 4-pack of toilet paper because you cannot afford the bulk package. You end up paying 40% more per roll. You cannot afford the $5,000 down payment on a reliable used Toyota. So you buy a used clunker off a questionable roadside lot with a 15% auto loan. You pay more in engine repairs and interest over 3 years than a brand new car would have cost. Your friendly local bank manager smiles warmly when you sit at his polished desk. He offers you something called overdraft protection. He looks you in the eye and calls it a safety net. It is not a safety net. It is a $35 penalty for running out of money. You overdraft your account by $2 just to buy a gallon of milk for your kids. The bank computer automatically hits you with a $35 fee. You just paid $37 for milk. If you got mad at that calculation, leave a like on this video. Anger is the first step toward efficiency. Anger means you are finally waking up to the math of being broke. We call this the scarcity penalty. It is a hidden tax levied exclusively against people who are too exhausted to read the fine print. And the marketing departments in Wall Street know exactly how tired you are. They design their entire business models around your exhaustion. They sell you the brilliant illusion of convenience. You order a meal on a delivery app on a Thursday night because you just worked a 10-hour shift. The burger costs $12 on the menu. But on the checkout screen, there is a delivery fee. There is a mysterious service fee. There is a small order fee. There is the tip for the driver. Suddenly, your $12 burger costs $29. You just worked an entire hour of your actual life to pay for the delivery of a sandwich. You traded 60 minutes of your life energy for a push notification on your phone. Let us tear down the biggest lie they ever sold you, the absolute myth of the credit score. They told you that building a high credit score is the ultimate sign of adult financial responsibility. They told you to get a card, keep a balance, and pay it off slowly. Your credit score is not a measure of your wealth. Your credit score is an I love debt metric. It measures exactly how profitable you are to Visa and MasterCard. It measures how quietly and obediently you submit to monthly installment plans. If you pay cash for everything and have zero debt, your credit score actually drops. Think about how completely insane that reality is. You have money in the bank, you owe nothing to anyone, and the financial system punishes you. It punishes you because you are no longer a profitable product for them to harvest. I know exactly how this feels from the inside. I sit in that same terrible traffic on the highway, watching the taillights bleed into the distance. I scan my security badge at the corporate turnstile. I see the vending machine in the break room charging $3 for a bag of chips. I feel the engineered pressure to upgrade my phone just because the battery gets slightly worse after a software update. Every single day is a perfectly designed obstacle course built to separate you from your paycheck. They want you living on a razor-thin margin, because a person living paycheck to paycheck cannot take any real risks. A person who desperately needs the next direct deposit to clear cannot quit a toxic job. A person drowning in student loans cannot take a year off to start a business. Debt is the leash they use to walk you. The minimum payment is the collar around your neck. The poverty premium is how they make absolutely sure you never break free. You rent an apartment because you cannot save 20% for a down payment on a house. Your landlord uses your monthly rent check to pay his own mortgage. You are literally buying a house right now. You are just buying it for someone else. And when your paycheck is late and you miss the rent by 2 days, you get hit with a $50 late fee. Because not having money is the most expensive hobby you can possibly have in America. Look at the payday loan industry operating in plain sight. They deliberately set up shop in the poorest neighborhoods in the city. They offer you $400 to bridge the gap until Friday. They charge you a flat fee that translates to a 400% annual interest rate. Wall Street calls this subprime lending and puts it in a nice spreadsheet. I call it a legalized shakedown of the working class. They know you have absolutely nowhere else to go. They know your kid needs medication and the car needs new brake pads today. So they aggressively bleed your future to fund your immediate present. Every single time you use a layaway plan, you lose ground. Every time you click Buy Now, Pay Later for a pair of sneakers, you lose. You are mortgaging hours of your future existence for a tiny shot of dopamine today. Let us do the cold math on those new sneakers. They cost $150 at retail. You split the cost into 4 easy payments of $37. You missed the third payment because your electric bill was way higher than you expected. The late fee automatically kicks in. The deferred interest compounds overnight. Those sneakers end up costing you $210 by the end of the year. You earn $20 an hour at your retail job. After taxes and health insurance, that is maybe $15 in your pocket. You just stood on your feet for 14 solid hours so you could put shoes on them. This is the silent cycle of extraction. The less you have in the bank, the more you pay for everything. The poorer you are, the faster the financial meter runs. We call this the convenience impost. You buy pre-chopped onions in a plastic container at the grocery store. They cost 3 times as much as buying a whole, unpeeled onion. You are paying someone else a premium for 2 minutes of knife work because your office job sucked all the energy out of your bones. Your daily exhaustion is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Entire corporate empires are built exclusively on your inability to cook dinner at 7 in the evening. They do not want you to rest or have free time. They want you tired, impulsive, and constantly swiping your debit card. This stops today. Starting right now, you are going to look at every single price tag as a direct measure of your own lifespan. Do not look at the price in dollars and cents. Look at the price in the exact hours of your life you have to surrender to pay for it. That $60 video game is not just $60. It is 4 brutal hours of dealing with angry customers on the phone. That shiny new car lease is not just $400 a month. It is 25 hours of waking up at 6 in the morning and standing in the freezing cold waiting for the commuter train. Is that new car smell really worth an entire week of your life every single month? I guarantee the honest answer is no. They tell you to max out your 401k and trust the process. But they do not tell you about the management fees quietly eating away 30% of your total returns over 30 years. They hide the theft in plain sight using percentages and boring paperwork. Today, I have a very specific practical task for you. Open your bank app or your credit card statement right now. Look exclusively at the interest charges, the monthly maintenance fees, and the late fees from the last 12 months. Add every single one of those tiny numbers up. Take that total number and divide it by your real hourly wage. That is the exact number of hours you worked entirely for free this year. You literally donated a week of your finite life to a bank executive who does not even know your name. The final result of that math is going to make you sick to your stomach. But you desperately need to see it on paper. If this video just shattered the illusion for you, share it with someone you actually care about. Send it to that friend who just financed a truck they clearly cannot afford. Send it to the coworker who is always complaining about being broke 2 days after payday. We are going to dismantle this financial machinery together. Write "I understand the game" in the comments to signal to the algorithm that you woke up today. You probably think you are broke because you do not earn enough money. I guarantee that is only half the story. Let me introduce you to a concept that keeps millions of Americans trapped in a silent financial chokehold. It is called the poverty premium. It is the absolute mathematical fact that being broke is incredibly expensive. Imagine this scenario. Meet David. David works at a logistics center and makes decent money, but lives paycheck to paycheck. His feet hurt every single shift because he stands on concrete all day. David buys $40 work boots at a discount store because that is all the money he has left in his checking account on a Tuesday. The cheap soles wear out in exactly 6 months. By December, his feet are soaking wet from the snow in the parking lot. His lower back aches every time he clocks out of the warehouse. He is forced to buy another $40 pair in the spring. Over the span of 10 years, David buys 20 pairs of cheap boots. He spends $800 in total, and his feet still hurt every single day of his life. Now look at his regional manager. The manager buys a pair of premium leather boots for $200. He takes care of them, and those boots last him the entire decade. The manager spent $600 less than David. His spine is perfectly fine, and his feet stay completely dry. This is not just about shoes. This exact same math applies to your entire life. I know exactly how this feels because I have lived it. You sit in stop-and-go traffic on the 405 freeway after a brutal 10-hour shift. Your chest feels tight because the check engine light just came on again. You hear the horrible squeal of your worn-out brake pads, but you cannot afford the $200 to replace them today because rent is due on Friday. So you wait. You wait until the metal pad grinds completely through the brake rotors. Now you have to replace the rotors and the calipers too. A simple $200 maintenance job just became an $800 emergency. You did not do this because you are stupid or lazy. You did this because the system gives you absolutely no margin of safety. You pay a massive financial penalty simply for not having cash up front. Take that extra $600 you just spent at the mechanic. Divide it by your real hourly wage. You just traded 30 hours of your actual life to pay a penalty for being broke. 30 hours of sitting under fluorescent lights doing work you despise. If this number just gave you a punch in the stomach, subscribe. Here we do not talk about miracle investments. We talk about stopping the fraud you commit against yourself. Now let us talk about the biggest illusion of all, your credit score. You are taught that a credit score is a moral measure of your financial responsibility. That is a complete lie. Your credit score is actually a metric of how profitable you are to a bank. It determines exactly how much of a poverty premium they can legally charge you on every transaction. Meet Christine. Christine is a single mother working as a medical assistant. Her credit score dropped to 580 because of a single unpaid hospital bill. She desperately needs a reliable car to get her kids to school before she goes to work. She visits a friendly local buy here, pay here car dealership. The salesman offers her a cup of bad coffee and a huge sympathetic smile. He tells her not to worry and that he can get her into a used sedan today. Notice how he completely ignores the total sticker price of the car. He only talks about the monthly payment to make her feel comfortable. He stretches the auto loan out to 84 months at 24% interest. Christine signs the paper because she has no other choice and needs to commute by Monday. She just financed a $12,000 car. But by the time she finishes making those endless monthly payments, she will have handed the bank $24,000. She paid exactly double for a car that is already rusting. She bought one car for herself to drive and one phantom car to fund the bonuses of bank executives. Let us do the brutal math on Christine. She pays an extra $12,000 purely in interest. She makes $25 an hour scanning charts and dealing with angry patients. She just signed away 480 hours of her finite life. That is 12 entire weeks of waking up at 6 in the morning just to pay the bank. If you are angry about this calculation, leave your like. Anger is the very first step toward efficiency. We call this reality the invisible 20% rule. Everything you buy costs more when you do not have leverage. Look at where you buy your food. When you are completely broke, you cannot afford to buy chicken in bulk and freeze it. You cannot afford the annual fee for a wholesale club membership like Costco. So you stop at the corner store on your way home from the second job. You buy a single roll of paper towels and a small box of cereal. You pay a 50% retail markup for the convenience of surviving today. The corporate marketing agencies call this a convenience tax. I call it the survival penalty. The people who design these pricing models know exactly what they are doing. They study your paycheck cycle with terrifying precision. They know exactly which day your account balance hits zero. That is precisely when your friendly banking app offers you a payday advance. They charge you a $5 fee to access your own money 2 days early. $5 sounds completely harmless when you just need to buy groceries. But when you calculate the annualized interest rate on a $5 fee for a 2-day loan, it is staggering. It is over 400% interest. Wall Street hedge funds do not even make those kinds of astronomical returns. They are extracting hedge fund-level profits directly from your minimum wage paycheck. Let us look at housing. Moving to a cheaper apartment costs a lot of money. You need a security deposit plus first and last month of rent. If you do not have $3,000 in cash, you stay trapped in an overpriced apartment with bad insulation. You pay a $200 electricity bill in the winter because the cheap windows leak cold air. Your landlord refuses to fix the drafts because he does not live there. You end up paying an extra $1,000 a year in utility bills simply because you cannot afford the security deposit to move. You are bleeding out through 1,000 tiny financial cuts. And the absolute worst part is that society blames you for the mess. They tell you on television to stop buying expensive coffee lattes. They tell you to cancel your $10 streaming subscriptions to get rich. That is an absolute insult to your intelligence. A television subscription is not what is keeping you broke. What is keeping you broke is the systematic extraction of your time through late penalties, hidden interest, and daily markups. You need to build a defensive cash wall around your income. Having $2,000 sitting in your checking account is not an investment strategy. It is a financial shield. It prevents a $35 overdraft fee when an auto pay hits early. It prevents an $800 brake repair disaster. It allows you to buy the good boots once and save your spine. Today, take your bank statement and calculate how much of your salary really is left over after paying to be able to work. Look for the overdraft fees, the late penalties, and the revolving credit card interest. Add them all up for the last 6 months. The final result is going to terrify you. Write, "I am the architect," to signal that you took control.